Welcome everyone to a new series that we are starting, Women Only. This is going to feature women with a political thought, women with artistic thoughts, women who are victims, women who have performed, women only. So our first guest today is Mariam Dhawale, who is the General Secretary of the All India Democratic Women's Association. She is a strong voice on women issues, and you have seen her on the streets as well as in press conferences and seminars. So welcome to Women Only, Mariam, and I'm so happy that you've given us some time today.
Thank you, Seema, and congratulations for starting this exciting new series. And it's high time that somebody said women only.
Well, I'm glad, you're saying that, because a while ago, I would have thought we'd be accused of gender bias or, again, all this women thing. But I think, again, the time seems to have come where we have to focus on women, because women are just being left out of I would say, the mainstream.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't think the accusation holds any water now any longer, because women are themselves coming out. Women are coming out to reclaim the night. Women are coming out on the roads to be heard and to prove that they exist as part of the humankind. You know, they are a part of the humankind and they need that space. So I think it's
So, like I've seen, AIDWA has taken a major position on the violence against that woman doctor. I won't only call it rape, it was sheer assault of the worst kind apart from murder, which she went through before she died. And you've been on the streets, so is the Bharatiya Janata Party actually. And then you have the woman chief minister of West Bengal, who is actually not taking the action where you would expect a woman to act. So sometimes, this thing that you keep hearing from people who are maybe apolitical, that the politics of rape seems to consume us. So if it is something happening under my watch and I'm in government, I'm going to cover it and hide it. And if I'm in the opposition, I'm going to raise it. Is it really become like that?
No, not really become like that. Yes, there are certain tendencies within the administration, within this political system, that some people who are in power would want to hide it. The hiding part only comes when we find that there is a linkage between the criminals and the persons in power. So that is the time when they are, generally wanting to protect their own people. We have seen it in numerous cases all over the country. And unfortunately, as a women's organization, we always say this, that in 75 years of now it's 76 years of our independence, we have never seen the political forces coming out on the roads to protect the accused. We have never seen a scenario where the accused and are being garlanded, are being fed sweets when they are either out on bail, or whether their sentences are, waived off, as we have seen in the Bilkis Banu case.
Yes.
So this is a very, very troubling scenario for women in the country, because the message that is sent out to women as a whole and to the criminals, that the system is by your side.
True.
So it indirectly encourages them. Now, you see, today itself, I was just seeing, there is the rape of a rat picker in Ujjain.
Yes.
Now, I mean, it's like sometimes when people use the terms like India is becoming the rape capital, etc., of the world and all that, of course, rapes are happening all over the world, but the incidence, the regularity with which, and the conviction rate being only 27%, even now, you see, Seema, after the Nirbhaya, there is a protocol. There is a protocol which has to be followed in cases of violence against women. But that protocol is usually flouted.
Always.
And in that, And in that also, it's written that any officer found, found faulty, dereliction of duty has to be penalized. Till today, we have not found a single police officer, or any officer for that matter, investigating the case, who has been penalized for not performing his duty.
Right.
I mean, the system is too loaded against women.
Right. So, I remember when we joined as cub reporters and went through the 80s, and we had this dowry deaths where we really fought to get them registered along with the women's organizations as dowry murders and not death. So that was a big thing that happened in Delhi. And we always found that the women whose child or daughter had been murdered and who were grieving at that point, not always, but in many cases, had a history of not allowing that girl to come home when she was being violated and when she was subjected to beatings by her husband and by her in-laws. So there was always a history and then death. So this is what, to go back a little bit to the chief minister taking a position, we are all coming to this very patriarchal order where patriarchy,
absolutely,
Stockholm syndrome, it is
absolutely
to us, right? And
absolutely
mirror the men.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, unfortunately, men are reared as if they are supposed to be excused everything. I mean, and women are fitted into a compartment whereby they have to conform to everything. It's absolutely divergent. And the whole patriarchal system, in fact, now you see, we are having people in power today who propagate an ideology, which actually justifies subordination of women. They talk women being second-class citizens. Now, with a continuous propaganda, you see what is happening. One is all anti-women practices are being glorified. Any kind of woman raising her voice is being told as if she is sort of against Indian culture. If you ask for a concept like equality, then it is against Indian culture. Now, right up to the ground level, when we take up these issues, it's extremely volatile situation, because somehow succumb to the practices, to the traditions, and somebody who is challenging those traditions are sort of labeled as, all kinds of things, from being not a proper woman to being anti-national. So it's a huge range. So patriarchy is in fact got strengthened,
It's got strengthened.
It has got very much strengthened.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm sorry, there's a slight problem here. We'll continue with the question. We'll just edit this out. So the other thing is, like now that I'm talking of the 1980s, I'm going back there. There was a women's movement. It was fledgling, then it became strong. There were a lot of women organizations who went out, and it did seem till the 1990s earlier. And again, after that there was some progress. People were being able to look beyond the safety and security of women, were looking at laws that were confining women in the religious community groups, etc. Now it's all gone back. We are back to the safety and security of women. We are back to, terrible rapes like in Hathras and now in Calcutta and of course Delhi and all big places, big states. And how does this sort of take itself forward? I mean, and now the women organizations, except for AIDWA, which has been very consistent throughout, many of the women organizations don't even exist on the ground anymore. Their founders or have become old, and the new people haven't taken over.
No, it's true. Actually, as a mass organization, as a non-funded mass organization, their numbers have, decreased in the past few years. And we find it really difficult, even in joint programs we see, that's a fact. But that's also because, you see, we have a government who is breathing down our necks at every instant. So not everybody can withstand that kind of, thing, especially because if you are funded, then it makes things more difficult. So there is a problem there. But as you said about the dowry case earlier, Now, as AIDWA, what do? We in marriages and all, we tell our women, we say that you must tell the son-in-law very categorically, that just beware.
Mm,
Our doors are always open for our daughter.
mm,
Tell him that. Don't tell your daughter, as according to so-called Indian culture,
mm,
that now the doors of the maternal family are closed to you.
mm,
You will go as a bride from the mother's parents' house, and you will go you will die in your husband's house. You will never come back. Don't put this into the head of the girl, and
mm.
tell your son-in-law that your doors are always open, so he will be a little careful when trying to sort of roughshod over her. But of course it's not possible. It's not possible. But we have this campaign all the time.
Yes.
And within this system, no, because of the glorification of all anti-women practices now, and of course it's all got linked to the market also, Seema. This whole Karwa Chauth, or all these kinds of, now this Chhatta
In
Puja is going to
industry,
come.
cosmetic, presents, gifts.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Buying gold. Who can afford the gold? But
Yeah.
the whole glorification, and unfortunately, a lot of our people, very influential people, including certain actresses and actors, and very influential, they can have some kind of an impact on the masses. They
Mm.
also become a part of this whole thing of glorification. No, you
Yes.
find so many of the actresses doing Karwa Chauth, and
It is so sad that the industry, the our so-called film industries have all given up, and now instead, now that you brought it up, I was going to ask you later, but I'm going to ask you right now about the HEMA committee report, right?
Right.
So there
Right.
is this, I mean, this is something we've known from school, college, keep hearing it, wide-eyed kind of thing of the casting couch syndrome, the
Yeah.
sexual exploitation, the wages, the structure, the way women are being treated in the industry, whether it is in the South or whether it is in the North or Bombay or wherever, women
Mm.
in this industry, which should be all creative and should be progressive and should be equal, have become literally, puppets of the
Yeah.
male system.
Yeah, they're terribly victimized. And I'm
Yes.
glad that the Kerala state government formed the HEMA committee. I think it's the only committee of its kind
Mm.
that has really opened up the Pandora's box. And women are today saying, but
But it
you
has to
see,
be
it's,
implemented also, right?
pardon?
But it has to be implemented in the sense,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Implemented, the accused have to get some kind of a penalty. They have to be, brought in place. Because you see, the whole thing of sexual harassment is a very, very difficult thing to prove. We have seen in so many cases, journalists have been harassed, people working in,
Course.
government offices, banks, you name it, and it's there every single place. Because you see, this whole attitude of men to think of a woman as a commodity. We had a case where in one hospital in Mumbai, where a very senior doctor, head of the department, used to keep touching a lady doctor. And when she objected, he said, "What happened? I only touched you. What the hell? Why did you touch me? Who gave you the right to do that?"
Yes.
But the whole attitude towards women, that that they are bodies and they are commodities, and men can just look at them in any way that they want.
Mm.
So it's like, what happens if we've only winked at you? What happens if I just gave you a flying kiss? But I mean, who are you to give me a flying kiss? I mean, I don't want it. But
Exactly.
this aspect of a woman having an opinion and saying no, that's going to take some time in our highly solidified patriarchal society. It's
Yes.
highly patriarchal.
And as you've said, it's getting worse by the day.
It's getting
Yes.
absolutely worse by the day,
It's getting
because you
hard.
see, all laws, Seema, you see 498A has got diluted. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court has also played a role in it.
Yes.
Okay. No case is being registered under 498A anywhere in the country now. The Domestic Violence Act, after so many years of struggle, violence within the four walls of a house is considered as violence finally. Otherwise, it used to always be your husband only beat you. No, what is there? Husband beat you. Why have you to come?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, I mean, even to get the definition of violence in the Domestic Violence Act, women's organizations had to fight because there was no categorical definition. So, anyway, that is not being implemented. It's a very, very difficult task to get it implemented. It's a big struggle. So
Yes.
at every point, right from being born, you see our sex ratios, right from being born up to the end,
Absolutely.
every step.
It's a struggle. I mean, it's a miracle if the woman survives old age, in the sense that she should be dead long before, with the way, she is discriminated against, even in medical,
Yeah,
even in wages, in living, in domestic
absolutely.
uh, space, everything.
Property rights.
Property rights. It's like a struggle from the day she survives her birth, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this property rights thing, we have been insisting because it's linked to violence. That today a woman is totally propertyless. She has nothing in her names. The fascinating thing, Seema, in our country, it's a very fascinating country we have. Okay. Now you see, in the when we talk about property, when we talk to ordinary women, of course they never have. Most of them don't have the houses in their names. Nothing, no properties there in their names. But the most fascinating thing in our country is that when during marriage, or whenever they buy vessels for the kitchen, even the vessels, the name on the vessel is the husband's name.
Pathetic.
Pathetic. So we say the man who never bloody hell washes that vessel, it's the woman who scrubs it all the time. Even that she doesn't own. The children are named after the father. So what does the woman have? Where is her identity? She's totally identity-less in every single thing. That is why, when women in the self-help groups, we promoted self-help groups a lot by AIDWA, because that was the first time, and so many women danced with joy, saying that this is the first time we have something in our name, a bank account.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
In fact, when domestic workers, etc., come, if they go to good families, that's the first thing everybody should do.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of the domestic workers, or most of the women who are in the unorganized sector, are women who are actually running the house. Their husbands are mostly drunkards. They don't do anything. And if they are working, they don't give anything in the house. It's the woman-headed household, actually, which is not taken.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
there is
not recognized by anyone. Maybe not
absolutely
even for a woman herself.
No, that's then. I mean, we went to one tehsildar when the Forest Rights Act was being implemented, and in fact, implemented means we were struggling to get it implemented, and because of the fight that the many other progressive forces gave, we found that in that act it has been written that the plot will also be in the woman's name if she's a widow or a single woman. And when we went to the tehsildar one day and we asked him that, where can you tell me how many women-headed households forms have you filled up or you have received? He looked totally blank, Seema. He asked the junior official, what is this new category? I've never heard of it. I mean, so you see, at that level, a woman-headed household is invisible. He's totally invisible.
Absolutely. So, some political measures, I want to end this conversation with you on that. One is, of course, when the Panchayat Act came in and there was reserving positions for women, I remember we were as journalists also a little skeptical that they're obviously going to be the wives or relatives of these men. And we covered the election. I went into UP, covered the election, women wearing gungats, like literally going and being a proxy. It seemed like they were a proxy rather than the other way around. But then I visited the same places back 3 or 5 months later, and I found an amazing empowerment because the
Absolutely.
system makes them sign, system makes them campaign, the system comes and recognizes them. And suddenly you found these women making the roads. And the same the woman who I felt was very retiring was right there. And when I was entering, people said, come and meet our Panchayat Sarpanch, come and meet her. She's a woman like you, little children. And then you found that she was sitting there supervising things. And another
Absolutely. Yes. So initially, of course, it is difficult. Even now, in some places, it is difficult. But there is a sea change because it has helped her to get her identity. That is the thing. You see, within the home, she has only been serving and nothing else. Never heard, never seen. Now she's heard and she's seen, and she doesn't want to lose that space.
Absolutely. It is amazing transformation.
Yeah. It is an amazing transformation. It's the kind of confidence they get.
Yes.
And of course, finally, this thing challenges patriarchy at the lower level.
It does.
It challenges. Men are not taking it very lightly. Let me tell you that. You see?
I'm
so
sure.
There is a lot of, discord also happening at the same time. But this is a positive thing where women do not want to keep quiet now. They are really coming out forward. But you see, since you want to end this, yes, women have come forward, women are struggling, but within the system, somehow, if those same women want to carry out, because we have seen a lot of sarpanches and all are also members of AIDWA, where they want to carry out any pro-woman program or some scheme within the village, it doesn't really work. You see, it doesn't have that kind of an infrastructure, that kind of a health, and so that is still a struggle that's going on. Even this whole violence thing, why is it the woman suffers? Is because our system is not there available for her. There are no shelter homes. She has to just remain in the house. We saw during the COVID time, domestic violence increased, galloping, it just galloped. But the woman couldn't leave that home. She just had to be there because there was no space for her to go to. Nobody to help. There are no proper shelter homes at all in our country. And violence is today becoming, totally overarching. It's becoming all over, right from the school children, even shelter homes are not safe, to workplaces, to an ordinary woman traveling in the bus or train or anywhere. So public spaces. Now, this is a whole thing. And we as AIDWA have always felt that this is a struggle that has to be carried out by all, by society as a whole.
Right. No, I also brought in the Panchayat thing to go to the next and the last part is that since it's worked so well, and I remember when the women's reservation bill came in and people like Geeta Di and everybody were out, there was actually fervor. There was that you want that bill. It almost seemed that the men were being bulldozed back by the women, and you were not that many women in parliament then, right?
Yeah.
Now it seems to have gone into cold storage. They just bring it out to, to push or shove the other. But how effective would it be if it happened? I'll tell you why. There is a question mark raised again in West Bengal, where the TMC has a very unusually large number of articulate, solid women in parliament. Forget the legislature, more than others. And then when it comes to the party whip, on something as dastardly as this rape, none of them are raising a voice.
Absolutely. So that's why. So it's not just only being a woman as such, because even if you belong to a particular political stream,
Hmm.
which does not allow, which doesn't believe in the concept of equality, which doesn't believe that men and women are equal,
Hmm.
we find you see, it's not just this doctor's case, na. You see in West Bengal, right from that Park Street incident that happened,
Yes, yes,
Kamduni that
yes,
happened. So
yes.
every time our Mamta Banerjee has said all kinds of things. In Park Street, she called the woman a liar. In Kamduni, she said that that woman had an affair with that boy who raped her. So you see, all the time, just because you are a woman, it doesn't generally transfer the fact that, you will do that. But even then, 33% reservation that we have fought for now, unfortunately, this government, which is in power today, they have really made a mess of it. God alone knows now when it will be ever implemented, but connected it to census and delimitation and all that. But the number of women increasing in bodies where laws are made, there they will have to speak. Otherwise, they get exposed, as they have got exposed now during the Kolkata case. You see? And that's when the general women also will have to understand who is by their side, who are the ones who are fearlessly fighting for the rights of women, and who are the ones who talk of women only and don't really, really what you call come out strongly whenever the need arises.
But the
So it's
problem
not.
would be, Mariam, in all political parties. I mean, if it was happening in Kerala, I think AIDWA would
Hmm,
not have been able to go on the streets in the same manner as it has in West Bengal, or if your government was there, and the Congress, and and the BJP, of course.
hmm.
Uh, uh, there is a political, what should I say, a straight jacket on women organizations. Some have died under that straight jacket. Something like the Mahila Congress and others barely exist, and some like AIDWA have managed because you've taken positions, but it's also because your governments now are you're not a national sort of in Delhi government party, organization. So suppose it was happening in Kerala, you would also be a little constricted, which is why I'm asking this question: whether reservation in Parliament is actually going to help women or not.
Yes, it will. And let me tell you that in Kerala also, there have been cases where AIDWA has been on the roads, and AIDWA has taken up those cases. AIDWA has seen to it that they get some kind of help, rehabilitation. They have been very active. But the difference between the left government in Kerala is that there are certain proactive steps taken by them. It is not like our experience, like, say, for example, in Kolkata itself, or even in Madhya Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh. There not a single minister or official even meets us.
Yeah.
They don't even meet you. They don't even accept your memorandums. They just don't care. That's the kind of.
Attack you if they can attack you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you see,
Allegations.
so there's a difference out there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So but 33% reservation would surely help, because somewhere or the other the women will be forced. When we're talking of, say, equal property rights, can any woman belonging to any party say that no? And if they say no, then they are exposing their own ideology. Like, for example, the party in power today at the national level does not believe in equal rights. So let their women say that yes, women should not get equal rights. That's
Yeah.
the struggle that has to take place even within the women's movement, no?
Right. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I, for one, totally believe in the 33% reservation. I just needed to question you on it.
No, we very much wanted.
Talk
We
on
very
this
much wanted.
page. Thank you so much, Miriam. I can think of so many things to discuss, and I'm going to get you back at some point when you have time. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you very much, Seema, and all the best to you.